So we're going to continue on in section 2.1 first by talking about frequency tables. Right? A frequency table organizes data by listing each value and the frequency of each value. A relative frequency is a proportion or a percent. We call it a relative frequency, and we're thinking about it more as a proportion because we're not actually going to change this into a percent number. We're going to leave it as a decimal number as we're going through and working through a lot of these. Both our frequencies and relative frequencies can be shown in frequency tables. Like we did in the last chapter when we're going through and we're thinking about our different rounding, it's definitely going to be key as we're entering our answers in the homework. Again, for the most part, you're going to see me round to 0.1%, or in this case, 3 decimal values as we're working through these in the next few examples. Right, so this is the first time that you're going to see instructions for Statcrunch. So Statcrunch is a program that is available to us through my Stat Lab that gives us kind of a different way of doing these calculations or doing these frequency tables by hand. So I'm going to go through this example, working through it by hand, and then I'm also going to post a separate document in D2L giving us more information about how we can do this in Statcrunch. So I'm going to go through kind of step-by-step the process, do some different screenshots, and kind of give you guys a very detailed explanation of what we're doing here. So to start with, when we're using Statcrunch, the first thing that we're going to do is we can sign into my Stat Lab and then select Statcrunch along the menu on the left side, or we can go directly to statcrunch.com and enter your My Stat Lab login information. When we do that, we're going to see something that kind of looks like an Excel spreadsheet. Right? So Statcrunch is kind of organized like an Excel spreadsheet where we're going to see rows and columns of data. What we're going to do then is we're going to enter our data values into a column in the table. We are going to go and select the Stat button. We are going to select the tables, select the frequency, select the column at the top of the window, and then select Compute. And what the information that we're going to get off of the frequency table that we're seeing in this first one is going to match up what we're going to do by hand. Again, there will be a link in D2L to something totally separate, totally different, that will show you our steps to Statcrunch and kind of show you what I'm talking about, show the different results to each of these examples. As we go through this section, we're going to run into a bunch of different examples and explanations for Statcrunch. So every time you see this little box pop up with our steps, then we're also going to you'll be looking for something else that kind of coordinates with this when you're looking at the course material online. Okay. All right, so that being said, we're not going to worry too much about the Statcrunch instructions for now. What we're going to do is we're going to take this idea of frequency and relative frequency and put this into a table. All right. So we're looking at the same example that we started on the previous page. So a list of raw data, right, that shows the number of goals scored by NCAA first-year female soccer players in Division III in the 2012 season. Right, so first we're going to go through and we're going to fill in our frequency for all of these different values. Right, so our frequency, remember, is the number of times that this number occurs or count. Right, we're going to count the number of times that occurs in our data set. So the number 9 shows up exactly once, so we have a frequency of 1. 11, well, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. 12 shows up once. 13, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 14, 1, 2, 3. 15, 1, 2. 16, 1, 2, 3, 4. 18, 1, 2. 19, 1, 2. 20, 1, 2. 21 is 1, and 35 is also 1. So frequency, remember, is another word for, right, count. We want to count the total number of times that this occurs. Our relative frequency, remember, is another word for proportion or percent. So our relative frequency, we're going to go through and we're going to find by dividing, just like we find percents by dividing. Right, we're going to take our part divided by our whole. So before we do that, we need to figure out how many data values we have here. So we could go through and we could count all of these different data values individually, or we could take these numbers and add them up. Either way we think about it, we're going to get a total of 28. So we have 28 data values, 28 different numbers on our list. Our frequency also totals 28. Right? Now we're going to calculate our relative frequencies. So our relative frequencies, again, we're going to calculate by doing some division. So we're going to take 1, our frequency, divided by 28, which is our total. Right? We're going to round to 3 decimal places. We get 0.036. Right? Then we're going to take 4 divided by 28. That is going to give us 0.143. Right, then we're going to take 1 divided by 28 again. We get the same as we did in the first row, 0.036. 5 divided by 28 is going to give us 0.179. 3 divided by 28 gives us 0.107. 2 divided by 28 is going to give us 0.071. 4 divided by 28 gives us 0.143. 2 divided by 28 gives us 0.071. That's going to be the same in these next 3 rows. 1 divided by 28, same as our top row, 0.036, and another 1 divided by 28, 0.036. Right. So our relative frequencies we find by dividing, right? They're the same as a percentage. We're just choosing to leave them as decimal form. Right, as we're going through and we're working through these, for the most part, a lot of times you're going to see me write the division in here and then put the answer. When you're setting up your tables on your own, how much work you show is going to be kind of up to you, because you're going to be taking your answers and then entering them into my stat lab. Again, I will always err on the side of caution, giving you guys more information than you need, writing out more than is really necessary, but that way as you're looking at the notes, you have a good idea of where everything in our table came from.